What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This video we are looking at the NFL Draftkings and FanDuel final look picks for week number 2 for tomorrow. We have 12 game slate, so let's go ahead and get started. It was a solid, very nice week 1 last week. Sunday slates crushed it, so see if we can keep it going on week 2. Enjoy the content. Appreciate the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out other links in the description. If you want to join, you can visit the site dosprocess.net for the full picks. And let's get started. So looking at the quarterback position, stick with the same format here. Looking at your guys above $7,500, you have 4 quarterbacks there: Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, and Fields. You know, they all are in decent spots. I would still prefer Lamar 77 or Mahomes. I'd say Allen looked a little bit shaky, and I think he's still a fine play, but rather get up to Mahomes or Jackson. Fields, not really that interested at 76 when I can get to these other guys that I just have more confidence in. I think Jackson, that game's going to be a nice one to stack up with Baltimore and Cincy. You have Joe Burrow looking for a bounce back. He's only $6,900. He looks definitely like a guy that you could go to. He's definitely not going to have that type of performance probably ever again in his career. Not that interested in Dak here. I like Trevor Lawrence a lot. I was high on him early in the week, and I still really like him at $6,700 at home. You know, this game is probably going to be one to both teams are going to put up some points here now that we know that Travis Kelce is back for the Chiefs. Makes me feel better about doing a bit of a stack. You can load up on like Lawrence, maybe Evan Ingram, maybe Ridley, and then bring it back with the Travis Kelce. You put one of the tight ends in the flex. But I like Lawrence a lot. My favorite value quarterback at $6,700. Then in that range, there's really nobody else besides Burrow. You know, Dak has a tough matchup. Richardson's price has gone up a little bit. He's still a decent option, but I like Lawrence for $400 more. And then you're looking at quarterbacks that just don't really interest me too much with Goff, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith. Guys that you can take shots with if you're playing tournaments or playing a lot of entries, but if you're just making one team, I'm not that interested in starting with those guys. And then you have Jordan Love would probably be one value piece I could look to because he's only $5,500. He looked really good. Maybe they'll let him throw more in this game if they actually fall behind, or if it's a closer game than it was against the Bears, where he didn't have to throw much in the second half. So I like Lawrence, and some of those Love touchdowns, Aaron Jones just took that one to the house. So some of those he didn't. Kind of were quick drives. Looking at the running back position, there's a ton of value on both sites. So it's looking like a slate where you're going to go cheap at running back and then load up on big name receivers. If you want to be different, play Christian McCaffrey because nobody's really going to look to start a lineup with him with how much value there is at running back this week. So he could be a nice contrarian play. I still like Bijan at 79. I think he's didn't get as many touches as you might have thought. Just with Algier taking away some, but he still got 16. He could push for 18 to 20 in this game, and I think the Falcons at home, they're going to put up some points, and they seem to rely on the running game. They didn't let their quarterback Ritter throw more than 20 passes. I think he threw 18. Travis Etienne, perfect game stack here with Chiefs and Jags. You got Bigsby, did get a touchdown, but he didn't get a ton of touches, so looks like it's going to be Etienne's backfield at least, unless he starts to struggle, or if an injury pops up, or if he fumbles or something like that. But 69 below 7K for a guy that's going to get targets and a lot of carries. Interesting. Jones doesn't look like he'll play because he missed practice all week. He's a questionable tag right now, but don't think they'll push him. Josh Jacobs, I like him at 71 against Buffalo. We saw Buffalo get eaten alive by the running game of the Jets, and Josh Jacobs looking to bounce back after a tougher spot against Denver's defense. He still got the touches, and they're dealing with some injuries at receiver, so Jacobs should get potentially even more work out of the backfield. But starting with some of the value running backs that look really interesting, you got Gibbs and Connor that look fine, but guys that are going to get a ton of volume. So A.J. Dillon, $5,900. I'm not expecting Aaron Jones to play, so take Aaron Jones out. You know, a team with a young quarterback going to still look to rely on the running game. Like last season, with their fantasy points given up, the Falcons were about middle of the pack against the run, giving up 20.3 DraftKings points per game to running back, and you're getting a guy in A.J. Dillon who's going to see a bulk of the volume as well as a bulk of the carries, and he's going to get you a good amount of targets, I'd say, out of the backfield too. So for all that at below 6K, I'm definitely interested in him. Other cheap running backs that look good are Kenneth Walker at 58. Just they didn't run much in the second half because they were down by a lot in the fourth and had to keep throwing. But you expect him to get more than 12 carries, and he did get 5 targets, which was encouraging. And you'd expect more than 3 yards on 4 catches on any other week. So Dillon is definitely one value running back that I like. Another one, you got a couple even cheaper. Joshua Kelly. We got the news that Eckler is doubtful, so you take out Eckler, you're going to plug in Joshua Kelly. This is a high-flying offense in Los Angeles. They're going to put up points against anybody, at least 20-plus, I'd say, against anybody. So Kelly does give you some touchdown upside. He's going to get the touches at $5,000. He's also another value piece you can look to. Tennessee is definitely a tough matchup, but it's just one of those. Volume is going to kind of outweigh some of that tough matchup that I'm thinking about. So $5,000 for him. And then the final cheap running back, put him in the flex, is Zach Moss. He's $4,700. He's going to be the starting running back. Deion Jackson is in the doghouse. Fumbled 2 times in week 1. Lost both of those fumbles. And he also kind of led the Jags to come back in that game. But he also only had 14 yards on 13 carries. So he's in the doghouse. And you get Zach Moss, a good matchup against Houston's defense, who gave up the most fantasy points to running backs last season, and Moss probably get some targets also out of the backfield. So all 3 of these running backs expect to be getting a bulk of the work, and I think all 3 will get you a lot of third down work as well. Looking at wide receivers for this week, Jamar Chase this week as a guy to start your lineups with. Expect a big performance out of him. Would not be surprised if he puts up 200 yards or more, possibly with a touchdown. Matchup against Baltimore. He's had success against them in his career, a couple 100-yard games. He had a 200-yard game against them. So I'm really liking Jamar Chase a lot this week. With all the value that we went at running back, you're going to be able to pay out for all your receivers. So another stud is Calvin Ridley that I like. Perfect pair with Trevor Lawrence. He got you 11 targets. They put Christian Kirk in the slot, so he didn't get a ton of work. Didn't get a ton of targets. So if that's going to be the case, just going to benefit Ridley and Zay Jones. And I think this is a nice start to a lineup with Lawrence, Ridley, throw in Chase, and you get value running backs that all give you upside for 15-plus fantasy points. Other picks at wide receiver, St. Brown, Diggs, continue looking to build your receiving options. You can probably get to all 3, but you just might have to go really cheap. Tough. You're going to have to go cheaper at quarterback if you want to get to 3 guys above 7,500 at quarterback or wide receiver. But besides the 7K range, 6K range, looking at possibly like a Mike Evans, a Chris Godwin, a T. Higgins. 5K range, Mike Williams. Injury to Eckler is going to open up more targets for the receiver, so Mike Williams looks pretty good. Ayuk at 58. Sutton, depending on Jerry Jeudy news, looks like Cooks isn't going to play, but not that you really want to play any of the Dallas receivers, but would open up more work for like a Gallup or a CeeDee Lamb, but I like Gallup more just based on the pricing. Christian Watson practiced limited on Friday. If he's back, it'll just hurt Dobbs and it'll hurt Jaden Reed, so it makes them more difficult to project. Puka Nacua looks good at 49, still going to get a lot of volume. You know, Matthew Stafford and that offense are still going to be throwing, and they're probably going to be trailing in this game. It's going to open up a lot of targets for him and Tutu Atwell, so both guys look pretty good. You also have Zay Jones here, Nico Collins as value pieces that are going to get a good amount of work. And that's pretty much it. Last guy you could maybe take a shots on are like Quentin Johnson, Hunter Renfrow for tournaments. Tight ends, top end, Kelsey, obviously looking to stack that game up. He's a good guy to look to from the KC side. Looking at below $5,000, I like Ingram, I like Higbee. Those are my 2 in the high 4K range. Other options in the high 3K to mid 3K, or Sam Laporta at $3,900. Think with how much volume that he got 80+% of snaps in week 1, and he got 5 targets on 5 catches. So expect him to continue using him more as season goes on, and just besides St. Brown, they don't really have anybody else that's going to command a lot of targets. So that all of that could go to Laporta at some point this year. And then value-wise, Musgrave, possibly looking at like a Ferguson, but it's kind of it. There's nobody in that low 2K range that looks that interesting. The last guy I'll mention is Zach Ertz at 35, just with the targets that he's probably going to get from Dobbs until he gets traded. And last but not least, defense. Perfect week with the value at running back. If you wanted to pay up for a defense, you'll have the money to do so. So the Cowboys against Zach Wilson and the Jets look pretty appealing. Other options would be that are not super expensive, I'd say. You could look to the Packers against Desmond Ridder, see if the Ridder turns the ball over a little bit or if they have to throw more if the Packers do get out to a lead. But you could look at both defenses in that game. Both are pretty affordable. And then I'm looking at like the Cardinals defense against the Giants, maybe even the Jets defense against Dallas. We know that Dak is interception prone, so with how many dangerous guys they have in that secondary, anybody could pick one off and take it to the house. So that's pretty much it on the DraftKings side. Those are some little picks I like to build at least one main slate lineup this weekend. FanDuel is pretty similar, but I will touch on it. All right, on FanDuel, it's even easier to get to all three and pay up at receivers. So we're able to get to all three stud receivers or three stud receivers. You still got Diggs, or you still have St. Brown as an option. But for giving me three of the top four receivers of the week, fit into my lineup comfortably. Still leaves you at 52.67 at running back. Went with the cheap guys because Gibbs is just way too cheap on FanDuel at $5,800. He should not be cheaper than like a Damian Harris. Shouldn't be cheaper than White. He's even cheaper than Josh Kelly, than Pirine. All these guys, it makes no sense. So in a game that Detroit should put up some points, we saw the Rams put up a lot of points against Seattle in week 1. I like Gibbs at 58, and then Zach Moss at 61 is still a guy that I'm interested in just because I don't think Deion Jackson's going to get much touches after costing the team in week 1. And you're giving Zach Moss against one of the best matchups you could ask for against Houston. Both defenses are not very good, so even though both offenses are young, you could see some sloppy football, but I think you could still see some points scored in this one. So Zach Moss getting work out of the backfield, possibly getting some targets too. I like him. And Dillon is still a decent play, but he's 7,000, so he's not really a lock on FanDuel. Like 59 on DraftKings would be tough to pass up. And then if you are looking to pay up at running back, still like Bijan a lot at $8,100. And I'd probably say second guy would be Etienne at 82, just because I like that game a lot to be high scoring. And then Josh Jacobs at 75 is definitely cheap enough to take shots. And then quarterback, Lamar Jackson is just way too cheap at 76 for the upside that he gives you with his legs. So he's $400 cheaper than Fields. He's $1,400 cheaper than Mahomes and $1,600 cheaper than Josh Allen. I'll take Lamar all day given those pricings. I like Lawrence, but give me Lamar with his upside with his legs for cheaper. And then Burrow 74. So you got two really good quarterbacks that are just too cheap. Like Burrow's cheaper than Richardson. It's a slap in the face, but that's what I got over on FanDuel. Tight end wise, pretty same deal. Looking at value tight ends, you got Higbee, Laporta, Kmet. Everybody's kind of in this $5K to $5,200 range that are values. And then you got Ertz at 49. So he's a really nice value there. And then defense, pay up for the Cowboys. They're only 45 if you want to. They're not that expensive against the Jets. You could look. A lot of people probably do that. So want to be different. Go with the Jets defense. Go with the Cardinals defense. And that's pretty much it. Maybe the Texans. But that is what I got for you guys for the final look for week 2. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And I will catch you all next time.